G'day guys, and welcome to the Centre Bounce. Today I'll be talking about the old man out of Geelong, Cam Guthrie. Stay tuned. Yes guys, he is an old man. He's going to be 32 this year, coming off of injury last year. I guess you can tell by my tone, I'm not very keen. Let's dive straight into it. He's had some changes to his face over the years. Obviously, a massive shrink here. No, I'm just kidding. But look, the cutouts, I suppose, the fluff. As a midfielder, we want the best midfielders we can possibly fit in. Okay, we've only got 8 slots available on field. Now it's obviously next to impossible to nail all 1 through to 8, the top ranking players. It's very hard, almost nigh impossible to absolutely get 1 to 6 in the defense, 1 to 8 in the mids, 1 to 6 in the forward line. It's just not going to go out that perfectly, okay? But there is, I suppose, a range of scores that we would like to have, especially in our M8 position, where we're not leaking points to our opposition, okay? Now, in M8, your 8th midfield, your last spot on the field in the midfield, we need it to be over 105. We need it to be close to 110. And that way, you will really have an incredible midfield that is netting you all the points that you could possibly want. A very competitive midfield that doesn't have you losing out. Okay, if you can have a midfield, like I said, that has a final midfielder averaging over 105, pushing 110. We want 110. 110 plus. If you can aim for 110 plus, then that's good. And looking at the midfield from last year, if you've got Lockie Neal, 110, he was the 15th, 109, just on the edge, 109, okay? With Andy Brayshaw, that's the 16th highest average, okay? So we're not asking for, no, let's not forget though that this was Errol Goulden was a forward. He was in the forward line. Zach Butters was forward eligible. Dunkley was forward eligible. Dawson had defensive status. So yeah, you've got a bunch of players here that you would be putting in other lines, okay? But ideally, what you want is someone who is going to be a top 10 mid around that final spot, okay, for your midfield. Looking at Cam Guthrie's scoring for his entire career, he has never once, only once I should say, he's only once gotten to that boundary line of a keeper as an M8. And that was in 2021, played all 23 games, 23 games in that year, and he had 109. As you can see, he took some kick-ins and he had some CBAs. So essentially, he had a pretty decent crack at it, a very good role, eating into Tom Stewart's kick-ins whilst also featuring in the centre bounce. He's only done it once, though, for his career. And he isn't a spring chicken. He's going to be 32. How likely is it for someone at that age to all of a sudden find career best form or replicate career best form coming off of a substantial injury? The last game he played last year was in round 6. And we never saw him at AFL level again. Okay. Now, someone who you don't, as you get older, it's natural for you to, your body then starts to break down. And before that, he's been pretty consistent in terms of his playing, but I think it's really risky at his price point to sit here and be like, you know what, I feel like I'm going to start and pay up $420,000 in the midfield for Cam Guthrie, because at that price, if he goes up 150K, that puts him at 570. which is essentially keeper status. Okay, if he's making 150K for you, it means that you are essentially picking him to be a keeper for the year to match the premiums. Now, I personally don't think he's going to do that. Why? Because he's old and he's coming off of serious injury. Now, I know that he's going to be playing and he's doing well in preseason, etc. But why would you willingly start a Hazard? Now, it's not like you're starting someone like LDU, video on him coming out soon. LDU is still in the prime of his career, and if something bad happens to him, you can easily sideways him out to anybody. Cam Guthrie, on the other hand, if he goes down, his price point is really awkward. You can't even really make an easy move to get, you can't, because he's the closest person to him would be Carl Amon at 480 odd K. You're going to have to find $60,000 to go up to get a Carl Amon, who's the closest in price. But good luck doing that using two trades. Unless you've got $60,000 sitting in your bank, you're going to have to use two trades to fix that mistake. I wouldn't want to pick someone like Cam Guthrie, who, as we can see in the Geelong side, you probably would have already seen it. I've pulled up the list here. They have to transition to their youth. They have to. They can't keep relying on these old players like Cam Guthrie. I'm not saying he's washed, okay? Don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying that you look at the other players in their list. Tanner Bruin. He probably needs to play more. A lot of us who owned him in 2023, we know that his talent is really up there. He's a high caliber player moving across from the Giants. They need to give him game time. We saw Sean Manor. They picked up Sean Manor this off-season. Now, ideally, it's likely he's probably going to be playing a lot more forward because he absolutely killed it in front of the big sticks. But Max Holmes, they started to introduce him in the midfield. Mitch Nevitt, when he came onto the scene, he was really exciting as a midfielder as well. You got a bunch of players. Connor O'Sullivan could pinch hit through there. Jai Clark, who a lot of us have on our benches in Supercoach, he's going to have to get some games as well. There are a bunch of players in here that they really need to transition to in order to allow this team to develop and to not bottom out as hard as they've seen other dynasty teams do. Geelong are one of the best run organizations in the country. They know what they're doing. And I can't see Cam Guthrie maintaining a high percentage of CBAs in the midfield for long enough for him to warrant selection. Okay? Just putting it out there based on those what I've spoken about. Even before his injury, let's have a look at him before his injury. 72% CBAs, 41, 29, 64, 65, 66. So he's clearly featuring in a bunch of CBAs, right? So don't get me wrong. He's one of those. He's a great player. He's a sensational player. But as you can see, there are other players, and they even tried Santa Cotting in the ruck a little bit. Mark O'Connor, he might be given a role to tag somebody. Max Holmes, we sort of seen a bit of a bump in his CBAs because they like what they see, and he could absolutely fit in there. Max Holmes, Tanner Bruin, you see, as soon as Cam Guthrie went down, Tanner Bruin's CBAs went up. They have to develop these players, and it can't be, and they won't do it as long as they keep giving extensive minutes in the midfield to people like Cam Guthrie, who's not going to be there for their next premiership. It is what it is. But we can have a look at his first 6 games. 15 disposals against Collingwood at 60% efficiency. 2 frees against. He attended 72% of CBAs, and he only scored 64. It's not great. Not enough outside ball. These look like 1-2s almost. Almost look like 1-2s. It's around the middle. It's just around the middle. Not enough outside game. Not enough outside run. Against Carlton, 25 disposals, 56% efficiency. That's horrific. 41% of CBAs, 2 kick-ins, only scored 77. It's between the arcs, I'll give him that. But he went at 56%. Just over half of his disposals hit their intended target. Like, that's terrible. 28 disposals against the Gold Coast Suns. That's a good outing. 82% efficiency. That's a good outing. 116. What happened in this game? Let's have a look. The Gold Coast Suns beat him. Playing away. Tom Stewart went bananas, as did Cam Guthrie. Okay. But it was mostly a Tom Stewart game. 28 disposals for 167 marks. A 3 against. Look at that heat map. It's because he's playing mostly defense. Almost played half back in this game. Well, they lost. So it makes sense for the ball to be in dispute in the defensive 50. And as I said in the previous video, if you're playing in the back line, it's so much easier to fund the football. If he's playing in the mids, then he's struggling. Okay. What happened against the Hawks? 20 disposals. 65% efficiency, 11 tackles, so he put effort in this game. 64% CBAs for 90 points. There you go. That's a CBA attendee right there. With a bunch around the outside. Against, what was the result of this game? All right, it was a smashing. That's right. This was where Geelong found their mojo. There was a Geelong smashing against the Hawks. Joseph Cameron, 7 goals. If you don't mind. Danger went bananas. Duncan went bananas. Holmes went bananas. Hey, let's look at Holmes. What did Holmes do in this game against the Hawks? What was his CBAs like? 32%. Okay. So as you can see, even before Cam Guthrie went down with injury, they've been slowly giving him some CBAs. I can imagine. Keep a close eye on Max Holmes this year. Keep a close eye and see if he gets a bump up in CBAs. But this was a smashing, and it seems he was able to capitalize on it with some score assists to perhaps bolster up to get to that 90. Against West Coast, what happened? 70% time on ground, 57 only. 22 disposals. Again, very central and not much around the periphery. Was it a smashing also? Probably was. Yeah. Comfortable win. Tom Hawkins, Tom Stewart, Blixarves, Cameron, Max Holmes. There he is again, Max Holmes. He's featuring. Yeah. Look, you can tell from my expression and from the way I'm talking that this ain't it. It ain't it. 98 Supercoach. 98 Supercoach, when he gets more of the pill, slightly more than just in the middle of the ground against the Swans. 24 disposals, 61% time on ground. I'd imagine this is where he got injured and never saw him since. 71% efficiency, 4 marks, 4 tackles. But yeah, look, guys. Personally, I wouldn't spend $420,000 on Cam Guthrie. Nothing here screams to me that we're gonna see a bump in his scoring. Even if he comes back and he plays more on the ball, I'm not entirely sure that necessarily will mean that he's gonna start to get back to this 109, 110 point average. I just can't see it happening personally, and I don't want to waste a precious midfield slot. He's not going to get DPP. If he's gonna score really well, playing with high CBA percentage, means he's not going to get DPP, which means that he's unlike a Carl Amon, who I'm selecting to then move him into the back line in round 6, where he will be a top 8 defender. a top 6 defender, I should say. Because if I just move the Supercoach team picker here again, right? We look at the defensive lineup. The top 8 defenders, to be a top 8, you could have been a Harry Sheezel with a 99. Okay. We come to the midfield. To be a top 8, Dawson had 116. Okay. That is a stark difference of 16 points between these two. Okay. 100 compared to 116. It's not the same. And if you're getting someone like a Carl Amon, who I anticipate to do more than that, I anticipate somewhere around this sort of scoring, then he is worth selecting. But realistically, what do we see Cam Guthrie averaging? Not enough. Not enough to warrant selection, especially in a highly contested, very precious midfield slot. If he had forward status, might be more interesting. However, this is the type of mid-pricer I would avoid this year. This is the sort of mid-pricer that I think you should be staying away from. We have heaps of options that are genuinely worthwhile, that aren't going to break your bank. And we also have a lot of great rookies this year. This appears to be the year of guns and rookies, with the occasional mid-pricer who we anticipate to make us a lot of money. Someone like a Williams in the back line, but he is more rookie priced. You know what I mean? Perhaps someone like a Fisher, who could end up being a forward keeper if he can maintain that halfback role. Someone like Cam Guthrie, a mid-pricer in the midfield at 420k, he's that real awkward price point that I would just simply say to stay away from. You could very easily pay up a little bit more to get someone like a Carl Amon or even a Matt Crouch, who we've done a video on. Watch that one. Those are a lot more reliable. They've got a history, and their roles suggest that they're going to score really well. With Cam Guthrie, as I've mentioned, there's a lot of question marks. They're one of the oldest teams in the comp. They have to transition. He is one of the oldest players at the team. He'll be 32 this year, and he's coming off a season where he only played 6 games. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is my wrap up on Cam Guthrie. Honestly reckon that you just avoid it. Don't pick Cam Guthrie. That's my genuine opinion. If you've got a different take on the matter, please let me know in the comments down below with your opinion. What have I missed here? Do you disagree with me? More than happy to chat about it in the comments down below. Hit a like if you like what you saw here today. A subscription if you're new would greatly help the channel. And hit that notification bell so that you don't miss out on all the content that we are pumping out on a regular basis. Also, let me know in the comments who else you would like me to cover. Got a bunch of players still on my radar that I'm going to be talking about. But let me know as well. I'd love to hear from you. And with that, guys, I'll see you all in the next one.